Hello, this time I'm going to do what I've been asked to do by one of my sons, and that is to show or to describe how I actually would carve a letter onto a piece of wood, which is mostly what I do is to carve letters, names, but you can also carve designs like this. The letters I'm demonstrating are taken from this book, but there are others, I'm sure, just like it. But this one has all sorts of letterings demonstrated in this way so that they can be traced and put onto a piece of wood, and they'll end up looking something like this on the piece of wood. Well, the first thing I do is to trace the letters onto a piece of paper like this tracing paper, and I use marking tools that are like these. Some people would use a felt pen like this, but I don't. Some people would use a pencil like this, but I don't. What I prefer is a pen like this, which is a pen often used by architects in drafting designs. It has a very long point on it, so that you can take a piece of a straight edge, for example, like this. The point will fit right over, so you can draw it like that, and it won't be distorted as it would be if you used a pencil or a felt pen, which has a much fatter point. There's another tool which I found very useful. I often find myself making curved images like circles. And how do you do that? Well, I use this type of a flexible tool, which you can get at a good uh, stationery store, for example, or you can order it on the internet. But anyway, again, this type of a pen is good for making a tracing. Now, let's go from here to how I'd actually carve it. Well, first of all, to get this letter onto a piece of wood, I trace it onto a piece of paper like this, and if necessary, using straight edges and tools to help that process. A straight edge would help in this case because most of them are straight lines. Otherwise, you just have to trace it yourself, freehand. But the point is to get it onto a piece of paper like this so that you can transfer it I use carbon paper. I won't need that, but I'll just put it aside, right? The carbon paper I get in little tablets like this, and it's used in the same way you would if you were on an old-fashioned typewriter. You'd put the paper that you're wanting to transfer from one to another with a carbon paper in between. And then by marking on what you have marked on this transparent paper, tracing paper, you mark again on the image that you have of a letter, for example, and that with the tracing paper transferred, or the carbon paper transfers onto the surface, the piece of wood. From there, you want to be able to carve, and I use these tools that I may have demonstrated before. This is the tool I use most often. Very sharp with a very precise point, and it's shaped so that you can go into a surface like a piece of wood, and this shape of this enables you to make curves and designs that are difficult to do if you had a tool with a sharp edge that is not shaped in this manner. I use the pattern about the way that we have demonstrated in this book. This is the pattern that's now on the piece of wood, and I start in the middle of the piece or the image that I have traced on the wood, and make a sharp. Usually, do the different parts of it in sequence. That I make a cut right down the middle, and then I carve the edges of the image turning the wood in any way that's necessary to carve a V-shaped imprint, which is really what you end up with. This is a photographic image of it, but you can see how this is indented into the wood as a big V. And even these little ends you cut, and then you shape them just with straight cuts such that they look like this. Well, there you have it. It's a simple matter. Ah.